Let's have another round of applause for Skip Taylor. Now I'd like to introduce really one of the reasons why we're all here tonight, and that's one of the families that have been touched by Children's Hospital of Wisconsin, someone who's had just about everything done to her as she's gone along pretty much her entire life, but we're certainly happy that she's here tonight. What I want you guys to do, if you haven't had a chance, inside of your programs you can read all about Michelle. And that will go over all the ups and downs that she's had from a very early age. But I think she will probably say it much better of what Children's Hospital of Wisconsin has meant for her. So, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, the whole Wanta family, and then we'll bring up Michelle. A big appreciation for the Wantas. Come on up. They're all yours. You're a pretty good crowd.
I'd like to take the time to thank each and every one of you for taking this time out of your busy schedule to hear my story in hopes to help Children's Hospital of Wisconsin. My name is Shelly and Gail Wanta. As of right now, I am in the 9th grade at Milwaukee Lutheran High School. I have been going to Children's Hospital since I was 5, and I am now 14. So that is roughly 9 years. At the beginning, I was having intestinal problems. This went on for a few years. During that time, I saw 3 different GI doctors at the hospital and endured many tests to find out what was wrong. My true diagnosis was not determined, but things slowed down and I moved on with my life. Then, at the age of 8, I started having many respiratory problems. Every time I got a cold, it would lead into bronchitis and or pneumonia. In the summer of that year, at age 9, I had fallen in a large lymph node and was referred to consult an oncologist here at Children's for 6 months. They ran multiple blood tests and finally did a biopsy, and I tested negative for any types of cancer. Following that, I started to have more respiratory problems as winter came, and Dr. Camilla had us consult an immunologist, Dr. Patrica. They ran more tests over the next few months and had begun giving me IV treatments to stimulate my immune system. After many tests and IV treatments, I was diagnosed with common variable immune deficiency, or CVID. We continued with the IV treatments every 3 to 4 weeks and hoped that would help. It was at this time they told me that my immune system would never recover on its own and I would need these IV treatments for the rest of my life. Each treatment would take 6 hours from start to finish. I would endure multiple folds since my veins are small and they roll. The nurses in the infusion clinic were the best. They would use heat packs, topical pain medication, or assign only certain nurses to certain patients to make the experience better for the kids as they were treated. Common variable immune deficiency is a disease in which the production of antibodies is defective, exposing patients to increased risk of life-threatening infections. Most patients with CVID experience acute, recurring bacterial infections, including pneumonia, bronchitis, and sinusitis. Autoimmune conditions and gastrointestinal diseases may also occur in some CVID patients. Children with CVID are susceptible to ear infections and infections that may develop in the joints, bones, and skin. In addition, CVID patients are at increased risk of cancer and inflammatory conditions. According to research, CVID affects several thousand patients in the United States and Europe. It may become apparent in infancy or as late as 50 years. The average age is 27. Current treatment includes IVIG treatments every 3 weeks and the use of antibiotics as necessary for manage of infections. That is how most are treated and usually do well, but not me. I continue to get sick with colds, sinus infections, and just about everything imaginable. But during all this time, I was still able to live a practically normal life, which included going to school and playing sports such as gymnastics. In May of 1996, I took first place in my level 4 state meet for the 10-year-old age group. Although I was receiving the IV treatments every 4 weeks, I started to get sicker. Secondary infections were controlled through treatment, but I began to have autoimmune conditions. This included more GI problems and a condition in my lungs. I started seeing another GI doctor that was able to tie all my original problems to my CVID. That summer, I had an open lung biopsy, and the doctors found bumps called granulomas in my lungs. I started seeing a pulmonary doctor, Dr. Russikow. He started treating me with the latest technology taken from Denver Pediatric Hospital. Spring of the following year, I developed ITP, which is a blood disorder in which your body starts destroying your own platelets. Along with all the other doctors I was seeing, I had to see another doctor, Dr. Scott, a hematologist. They started to increase the amount of grams put into my IV to control this. As the months passed, I was lucky if my platelets would continue to stay manageable for 14 days. My case was becoming very complex, so to oversee all this, I began seeing Dr. Castor, as Dr. Patriga had left. In December of '98, they took out my spleen. It had a 75% cure rate of the ITP. The doctors were surprised it didn't work. Quite frankly, I wasn't. My platelets would continue to fall even lower as I would receive IV treatments every 5 to 7 days. I was getting really sick of the hospital at this point. Dr. Castor and many others told me that I was the most severe case of CVID they'd ever seen. It was then the doctors approached me and my parents about a possible bone marrow transplant since they were running out of things for me to do. My parents and my brother Danny and my sister Kristen were tested. The doctors were really hoping it would be a slim match. Unfortunately, it wasn't. While the doctors consulted around the country to other doctors from places like Duke University, National Institute of Health in Boston, and Fred Hutchinson's in Seattle about doing an unrelated match. The other institutions felt they would only proceed if they had a sibling match. While we waited to hear what the doctors wanted to do, I was put on high doses of prednisone. I wasn't very happy about being put on this because it had many side effects, including gaining a large amount of weight and puffiness. It also makes you have many mood changes, which are not fun. I had been put on this when I was younger, and it didn't help, so we weren't sure if it would now. In April, Make-A-Wish sent me to Florida and the Bahamas on a Disney cruise. I went with my family. That was a lot of fun. Following the trip, the doctors told us they would proceed forward only if they had an 8 out of 8 match. The search was started. We didn't know what to do. We could not try other experimental treatments first, because if I would respond, I would become too sick to have the transplant. We prayed real hard for God to help us decide. But I prayed that God would give us a sign to help. If he sent an 8 out of 8 match, we would decide to go for it. The blood center called 2 weeks and told us that they didn't have just one match, but they had 2. But they weren't just 8 out of 8. One was 11 out of 12, and the other was 12 out of 12. We decided to go for it. I went through many pre-transplant tests, and so did my donor. He is a 37-year-old male named Doug, who lives in Buffalo, New York, along with his wife Lynn and daughter Victoria. We are so thankful to him for what he has done for me. In July of '99, I went through high doses of chemo and then several days of total body radiation. Then I received my transplant. My nurses told me I was a very good patient. The marrow engrafted in 11 days, and I was home by day plus 21. This is very early for unrelated bone marrow transplant. I am now at 2 years, 2 months, and 1 day out, and still doing well. I have been hospitalized for a few infections, shingles, and the flu, but this is how it will be and is considered normal. I've had minor neurological damage due to the radiation, where I am consulting Dr. Kovnar. Also, I am seeing Dr. Paula Sisto, an endocrinologist, for growth, thyroid, and eventually hormonal issues, all related to transplant. I'm required to have yearly tests and eye exams because they are finding out that both cancer and transplant patients have ongoing issues that can come up at any time in your life. I am so thankful to Children's Hospital, the doctors, nurses, and everyone who has been and continue to be involved in my care. Each donor, each doctor I have met has told me that I am a medical case study. In fact, Dr. Rebecca Buckley from Duke University Medical Center, well known for pediatric transplants, came to visit Children's this past spring, and the doctors presented my case. Dr. Buckley was so impressed by how they treated my case, she wanted to take it back to Duke. I hope that all I have gone through will help other children and adults out there to see that progress and options are being made for my disease and others similar to mine. Some of this progress is being done here at Children's Hospital, Wisconsin, and I was glad that it was available to me. Thank you again for hearing my story, and I hope you continue to support the hospital as you have already done. Thank you.
I just want to tell you that as she said, we have received care here at Children's Hospital for over 9 years. During that time, we have seen 5 GI doctors, 5 hematologists, 3 pulmonary doctors, 3 hematologist oncologists, 1 neurologist, 1 immunologist, 1 endocrinologist, 2 infectious disease doctors. We visited physical therapy, occupational therapy, infusion clinics. We've been to day surgery multiple times. We've been in the ICU unit. And the doctors and nurses there are absolutely wonderful. I mean, it's at the point now when I'm in the hall, I can give directions to any department in that hospital if you want to know where to go. Shelly's case has always been a very integrated effort. As she has told you, she's always been a medical case study. She has not followed any classical pattern and has been very difficult. When she first started having GI problems, as she said, we went through 3 different GI doctors in '92, and they diagnosed her with something called eosinophilic gastroenteritis. But she wasn't even a classic case of that. Things did start calming down at that time for her, so we continued on, as she said. But what's so wonderful about having a hospital like Children's Hospital here is, as she started having the respiratory problems and other concerns, we could then go back, when we started seeing other doctors, they could then go back to the biopsies, the tests, and every other thing that we had done at Children's Hospital, and it gave the doctors the opportunity to tie her case together and diagnose common variable immune deficiency, which, as you saw from only several thousand people, is not very common. So it's wonderful that we got the diagnosis and then could move on. In 1998, when her disease started really progressing, and what I mean by that is, she said, a lot of people get sick and have the IVIG treatments to manage secondary infections. And as you continue on in life, from everything that we've read, eventually you try and manage the infections to keep them out of major organs in your body. And eventually you may start having autoimmune conditions. What was so unique about our daughter's case was she started developing autoimmune conditions in 1998 and was progressing to have 3 of them by 1999 by the time we went to transplant. Her body was rapidly going down, and they realized that there was something that needed to be done. And what was so great about having Children's Hospital around is they have integrated board meetings that these doctors go to, having the medical college there. The team of doctors got together and presented our daughter's case multiple times and discussed all the different possible options. You know, they were out reading things on the internet. This hospital is wonderful. They're always looking for the best and utmost. You know, they aren't willing to give up on a case like our daughter's. And so that's when they decided that even though bone marrow transplant is not usually done for her type of disease, it is being done more for autoimmune type conditions. And based on that, they felt that, you know, she had a shot. And as Shelly told you, then we decided to proceed forward with that. Shelly's health has been an issue and will continue to be an issue for our family in years to come. But we are so thankful to the research and having such a wonderful teaching hospital of this caliber available to us in this area. Many of you may never have to use this hospital, but I want each of you to know that if you ever have to, you will be getting some of the best care around in the country. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart to each of you, to the pros, Skip, and your family for sponsoring such things to continue to move the effort forward in funding and continue to, you know, bring forward all that is necessary to keep this hospital growing and to keep it top notch. It keeps getting better, and a large amount of that credit and thanks belongs to each and every one of you here in this room. Thank you.